My mother makes me feel guilty for existing, even though I dropped out and took care of her through cancer, so I told her I regret taking care of her and am letting her go. I, 26F, was raised by a single mother. My mother always told me that my father had abandoned us and that he never loved us. She always stressed that she had to work twice as hard to raise a daughter. For some reason, those comments always made me feel like everything was my fault, and sometimes I felt like my mother would have been better off if I didn't exist. When I turned 16, my mother became seriously ill with cancer. At that time, we were living in a rented house, and the owner had asked for it back. It was then that I found out that my mother had not paid the bills or the rent. Since my mom couldn't work, I had to leave school and start working. The first year was hard. I ate very little, mostly just coffee. The chemo, the work, everything was very exhausting. Even so, I never regretted taking care of my mother. I felt like it was the least I could do after she sacrificed everything for me. After a while, my mother overcame cancer, and I decided to resume my mandatory studies. At first, my mother did not agree. She told me things like, "It is humiliating that you finish your studies when I was never able to do so because I had to take care of you." At first, I thought her words made sense, but my boyfriend encouraged me to finish them. Now, in this last year, my boyfriend has encouraged me to go to university. He even told me that I could take out a loan to pay for it and put him as the executor, given his very good salary. When I raised the idea with my family, everyone was happy except my mother, who made me feel bad again. I told her that this was my decision and I wanted to study to have better opportunities. This time, my mother accused my boyfriend of putting absurd ideas in my head, saying that I would only end up in debt in vain because I was no good at studying and would likely quit halfway, as I've done with everything in my life. I reminded her that I never abandoned anything willingly, but she countered that I left school because I was stupid. That's when I reminded her that I did it because she needed me. She said so many hurtful things at that moment, telling me she never needed me, that I only extorted her, and that she would prefer to unalive before I took care of her. That's when I broke down and told her that I regretted having taken care of her all those years and that I no longer wanted her in my life. My boyfriend says I was right to vent, but I feel like I was very cruel to her, and my family also thinks I was cruel. I don't know what to do. Maybe I should apologize. It's the only family I have, but I feel like I've been hurt a lot. Update 1. Hi everyone, a lot has happened in these past 3 months, and I'm now slowly getting my emotions and thoughts in order. After the fight with my mother, I decided to move in with my boyfriend. During the time I lived with my mother, I took care of expenses such as electricity, water, food, and rent. I told my mother that I would help her for 2 months while she looked for a job, and then she would have to fend for herself. However, I decided to cut that agreement short after finding out that she had done something horrible. I talked to my partner about what I said here, and he agreed with some of your comments about my mom being a narcissist and that she had done something to make my father leave us. You were right. I tried to investigate, but it was difficult since no one wanted to give me an answer. That is, until my mother's sister, who was a little interested, offered to take me to someone who might know about my father, in exchange for money. Finally, she connected me with a sister of my father, and I was able to meet him. Our first conversation was via video call, and he was happy to hear from me. I discovered that my father always sent money to my mother for me and that he sent me gifts at Christmas and birthdays, gifts that my mother passed off as coming from her. I also found out that he is married, and I have a 16-year-old brother and an 8-year-old sister. He also extended an invitation to his wedding, but because of my mother, I never received it. When I asked him how he met my mother, he told me a pretty horrible story. They met on my father's sister's birthday. It should be noted that my mother was 20 and my father was 16. My mother got my father to drink and then forced herself on him. He says he doesn't remember much about that night, because he deleted that horrible memory from his mind. She became pregnant after that night, and my maternal grandparents demanded that he marry my mother, but he disliked her. In the end, my paternal grandparents demanded a DNA test, and if I was his daughter, he would be financially responsible, but nothing more. He did get to know me, but he didn't want to marry my mother. He couldn't even see her as she harassed him and demanded a wedding. In the end, when I was 4 months old, my mother gave him an ultimatum: either marry her or forget about his daughter. He couldn't imagine being with a woman like that and told her that he would take care of me, but it couldn't involve her. My mother decided to leave the city and cut all ties with him until I was 1 year old and she had a lot of debt. Then she told him that she would send him photographs of me in exchange for paying my expenses. He accepted, and for years he asked to see me, but she refused. He could only see me in photos. After talking, I understood the entire situation. I asked him if we could meet face to face, and he accepted, so I planned to visit him at his house and thus meet his entire family. When I found out all this, I cut off all financial aid to my mother. She came to my house and demanded that I pay the bills. I told her that she had shown her true colors when dealing with my father, and now I knew what kind of woman she was. That drove her crazy, and she tried to get physical with me, but my boyfriend quickly escorted her out of our house. I didn't see her again until the day I was going to travel to meet my father. She called me crying, saying that her cancer had come back. I thought for a few moments that she was telling me the truth, and I almost went to her house. However, my boyfriend was smarter. He told me that before believing her, I should call the doctor who treated her before. I did exactly that, and I had to beg the doctor to tell me if it was true or not, that my mother was crying and guilting me, saying her cancer was back. It was hard to get the information, but I took care of her for over 10 years, and the doctor was sympathetic to my begging. I discovered that it wasn't true, and I simply sent a message to my mom telling her not to come back to look for me, and I blocked her from everywhere. I finally met my father, and we talked and cried a lot. His wife was very kind to me, as were his children. He showed me all the photos he had of me and the letters he wrote to me, but she sent them back. I still don't know how to face all this. I just know that I don't want to see my mother again.